Hello, beautiful people. My name is Isabel. I am a coach at Major League Hacking, and today we will be going over creating a portfolio website in React.js. Um, if you are watching along, please feel free to type in the chat, say hi, tell us how you're doing. My plan for today's session is going to be start to finish creating a portfolio website. So I will be going over designing it roughly through Figma, as well as coding it up using React.js, and then deploying it most likely with Firebase. Um, with that in mind, I'm just going to go ahead and get started, but I would love for y'all to um, participate. Let me know any suggestions that you have for what it's going to look like, what you want to add, but I'll ramble along as we wait for more folks to come in. So what I'm going to do is start off with, I believe, yes, creating a frame. This is something that, hi Himanshu, welcome. This is something that I want to suggest because what I often see people doing with Figma is they just go ahead and make the shapes and stuff. But in order to, for example, export it or keep it clean, keep your layers, um, as well as the resolution, using the frame and then specifying what dimensions you're going to need is super duper helpful. With that in mind, I believe, let's see, there was a way to. So my plan is to create a one pager, maybe, or let's put some notes here. One pager, and it is going to include a landing section. So something eye catching that has our name on it, or like that this is a portfolio website. Um, and then we're going to have an about section, quick blurb about us. We will also need experience. And then we are going to need a project. Give me one. Sorry about that, friends. So as I was saying, we will have a landing section about an experience in a project. And let's see. Does anyone have any suggestions for what theme we were going to have? Colors, a quick gimmick about what would make our website special. What I've done in the past is have like a little animation on the landing section, either bubbles that like resize when you hover over them, or text that types and deletes and then types again. So we could do something like that using a library that already exists in React that we will find. But otherwise, let's see. I think this is the thing that I'm looking for. Exactly. I'm just going to make a random color palette, call it a day. Let's do this. Cool. Let's see. Solid. Cool. So we are going to be maybe like this. Yeah. And then maybe I'll add a darker one. Let's see. one way that we could make our website cool is if we have light mode versus dark mode. I know Tailwind CSS allows you to do that. Or we could, let's see. Hello, welcome. And we are currently designing our website, our portfolio website. Yes, so all of our Global Hack Week workshops are automatically recorded and saved either on YouTube or Twitch. So as soon as the stream is over, you can check it out. Awesome. Let's see. Yeah, for sure. That's better. And then we're changing this to maybe this. Nice. Cool. So what I'm gonna do now is, oh wait, we're not there yet. What we're at is this. And then there. So I'll leave that there, and then I will start designing our landing section. Let's see. Since it's going to be a one-pager, I'm going to change the height to keep going for a little bit, which will include all of the stuff that we'll have. And then, let's see. I think it was 1440. Is it? Let's find out. 1024. Yeah. So this is going to be our landing section. And then let's say, so this is going to be very, very rough. We're not going to put too much detail on our mockup or our wireframe in this case. I just want to get an idea of where things are going to be, as well as what components we're going to make. So let's say, oops. That doesn't show. Let's see. Oh, it's because, okay. So what had happened there is it is behind the gray thing. So let's bring that to the front. Oh, I think the keyboard shortcut is this. I understand now. Nope, still don't understand it. Wait. Okay, we're good. So I am going to place this here, and maybe look for a library that does the typey thing that we were mentioning. And then we will have a section here that will be, let's see. Let's copy this, use that as our and then let's say we have an image of ourselves here. I'm holding shift to make sure that it stays, it keeps its aspect ratio. So that's a little keyboard shortcut that you can use with Figma. And then we'll have cool. And then I think our colors were let's see, what can we do? Because what? And then let's say our project is going to include a thumbnail with a screenshot of the project, and then we could include a modal that would pop up when the thumbnail is clicked, and then that would contain all of the information that we have on the project, like the link, etc. And then let's say modal is going to be, let's create another frame, probably the same aspect ratio as our desktop. And then I'm gonna hold shift, make it smaller. I think this, yeah, so that clicking that will keep the proportions the same, and then I'm gonna lower it. There we go. And we're good. So what I'm gonna do is, this is going to be the project modal, and I am going to let's say part of the modal is going to be the image, and then we'll have a title for the project, and then we'll have the next line be what hackathon it was for, or like this, hackathon. And then tech stack, and then description. And then this title is going to be, actually, no. So my suggestion was going to be to make the title the clickable link to the repo and stuff. But what if we have more than one link? What if we have a GitHub repo? What if we have a dev post page? What if we have a live tryable link? So what I'm going to do instead is have it here. Links labeled as such. And then, yeah, that should. And then maybe we shall make it, I didn't know that. So I'm just going to do this to signify that there is a scroller bar that could appear here, should there be a longer description. Let's see, we're good there. Let's see. Cool. So I changed that just to signify that it's a scroll bar, and then I want to make it so that there is a filter of sorts. Let's see. That would make the image darker, but still show the opacity. That's what I'm looking for. And then I'll put the title again here. And that's all we'll see before you click on the modal. So after you click on the modal, that's what's going to show up. So we're good there. And I'll group these. So that's something that you can do as well within Figma to keep your wireframes clean. That way, so when I'm grouping them, they both will move when I drag one of them. So I got that. And then if I copy it, I can copy the whole thing instead of manually doing it. Nice. There we go. Cool. We're good. And then finally, so that's our project section. We shall also have experiences if we want it. I'm going to leave it blank because I know that there exists, I know that's a frame, we don't want that. There exists a library that shows a timeline. And we can just use that and call it a day. Since the part that I want to focus on is the portfolio aspect. Cool. Timeline of experiences. And then was there anything else that we wanted to add? So we had 4 sections earlier. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 already done. I think that can be our design, very bare, but it gets the job done. And what I'm going to do now is get to where I want my repo to be and say npx create react app, and then what I want my project to be called. So MLH React demo. Let's call it that. And that's going to take a few seconds. And while that is going on, I'm going to start looking for, so I think the way that I want to approach this is start with the, break it down piece by piece. And then, so our components are going to be this modal, so modal is going to be, let's note this down. So components are going to be modal, which will include this image as well as the different texts. And then we are going to make it such that you can just pass each of those pieces of information as props so that you only need to make one. So we're good with the modal. We are also going to create the project thumbnail. And then we are going to create our about. And then we are going to create our landing. And the landing section is going to include a library that will have a, let's see, typewriter effect, I think the term that I'm looking for is typewriter effect. Yeah. Oh, we got that. Let's check out this first link. Nice. And when was so it was published 5 months ago, and the last time it was repository homepage. Let's check this out. So what I'm doing right now is just checking to see if there's anything wrong with it before I use this library, because sometimes there are instances where we will have a library that's not updated or is no longer compatible with other libraries. So I was just checking to see for the issues or like how long ago it was used. It's in TypeScript. Oops. Well, doesn't matter. I think we're good. Oh. Hmm. Let's see. Okay, this looks, I'll call it nice. So now that we have our Amlage React demo, so I'm gonna cd into, or like move into that folder. So let's go to GitHub and then let's go to MLH React demo. So let's go there, and I'm saying Control tilde for the terminal, and I'm going to paste what I had earlier. That will give me the typewriter effect that I wanted for the landing section. And then one thing we can do is actually, so there are different schools of thought here. One is we could make the modal ourselves, or we could just use an existing library to do that. In the If your interest is in learning it, then I would suggest doing it from scratch, because you'll be able to learn about event listeners and React hooks and I don't know, styling, for example. Whereas if we use a component that's already pre-built, it will be faster to production, since um, my part of my goal here is to create a portfolio website within these 2 hours. I think it might be best to stick with the modal. However, one downside to using a pre-built component, or like a UI library, for example. So we could use a UI library. However, that doesn't leave a lot of room for creativity. So, for example, if you want to switch up the appearance of the component without changing the functionality, sometimes it gets a little difficult. So if you want full control over the thing that you're making, it's better to make it yourself. Um, Whereas, let's see, um, React component modal. Let's see. Let's look at material UI, tried and true. Um, it just looks like that. Kind of don't like how it looks. So let's look for something else. Bootstrap is even more basic. Let's look at this library. Um, oh, this is from React.js, which means it is straight from the source. Is there a... Cool. This is what I'm looking for. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Let's look for this. So what does it look like? But what this is telling me is that it's much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Customizable. Since the only thing that's been coded for this thing is the functionality of opening and showing and hiding the modal. So I'm cool with this. Let's see. What I'm gonna do now is npm install React modal. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm doing is, or what I'm trying to do is install everything, all of the libraries that I plan on using before I run everything. So let's do that. We're good there. And going back to our design, we got the typewriter for this thing. We got the modal, and then now we only need the timeline. So React timeline. Let's check this out. Nope, not what I want. Um, if we use Material UI for the timeline, I might as well use Material UI for the whole thing. Ooh, I like this part. I like this. Okay, overrides documentation. Okay. How was the modal again? So it looks like, because the timeline, I think this one's new, or like new enough that I didn't see it the last time I wanted to create a timeline, but now that Material UI has it, we're just gonna stick with it. So let's see. I am going to, for the sake of keeping our project lightweight, I'm gonna remove React modal npm uninstall React modal. Because instead, what I'm gonna do is install Material UI. So let's go ahead and do that. MUI. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. How is everyone doing so far? As always, feel free to ask any questions or make any suggestions for how we are proceeding with the project. Okay, let's say npm start now. And we're going to ignore those. And I think what I can do is say it here. Cool. That way I only have to use this one screen. Cool. So we have that. I think what we can do now is get started on our folder structure for our components. So one thing that I do is, again, for best practice. So the stuff that I've been mentioning has been like, could be considered tedious, but something that, for example, if you're used to hackathon projects, because hello, because because we're so used to hackathon projects being like quick and efficient with our time, we often forget best practices. So what I'm emphasizing now, because this is your own personal project, your own portfolio, is best practices. So what I do is create a new folder, let's say components, components, and then put all of my individual component files in here. So for example, I will create a modal.jsx. If you have this extension on VS Code, that was a blank. You'll notice that, for example, you might be used to .js. .jsx has the React logo on it because it is very specifically a React thing. In terms of how it's compiled and rendered, there's no difference in .js versus .jsx, but what I've come to do is .jsx for each component. And then if I have bigger files, like very functional heavy, or like the whole app.js, I keep it as .js. Awesome. I will pause for a bit. What is today's program plan? So I am creating a portfolio, and maybe I should rename that. But yeah, so I'm creating a portfolio using React.js. What we have accomplished so far in the first half hour is creating a rough mock-up of what our website is going to look like. So I had said a landing section that's eye-catching and or has a little gimmick. What I had decided on was a typewriter effect. So my name would like go back and forth. And then an about section with an image. And then the check-in. So I shall go ahead and do that and then keep it up. let's see, 1 second. As for Marchu's question about the, where is my tab? About the total number points mail, if you hadn't received it yet, chances are the folks from the team still haven't finished tallying the scores and then sending it over. But don't worry, as long as all of the points are tallied up by the closing ceremony, you should be good. And then for the check-in, I got you right now. It should be cool. So I'm going to keep it on the screen, even though it wouldn't make sense to type it up. But just so you know that it's there. But yeah, so continuing, we are also creating a component for a thumbnail that will create a modal. What is the software tools used for making the mockup? So it is called Figma. Yeah, it's called Figma. And I also used Coolors, COOLORS.co for the color scheme, but that's not on the mockup yet. But I did use it to help decide what my design was going to be. I just like let it do it randomly. And what else? So what I'm, and then, so the modal is another functionality that we are creating. And then finally the timeline. In the interest of finishing quickly versus creating things from scratch, because while maintaining best practices, I've decided to use Material UI, the UI library for the modal as well as the timeline, to keep things, to make it quick. However, it is also advisable to create it from scratch if you want to for the learning experience. But since we're aiming for, what conception methodology did adapted while modeling? How did I conceptualize it? I think is the question. Okay, so let's, um when I made the prototype, I kind of just went in. I don't have a methodology is the short answer. I kind of just went for it, where I looked for the things that I knew I needed. So let me figure. So I had notes while I was brainstorming. If you want to like see the process, there is a recording. Like this, all of our workshops get recorded. But anyway, so I had decided on making a one pager. Yeah, I winged it. Sorry. I'm not a UX designer. So I kind of just went with my gut. But the way that I did it was I started with overarching bigger picture. What are the things that I need? And then broke it down. So I knew that I needed these sections. And then I envisioned what I wanted them to look like. Um, and then I after I knew what it was going to look like for the functionality part of the UX design, I broke down what components I would need to make in order to complete the website. And that's kind of about it. I didn't like put too much like structure into how I did the design, since it was just like a brief pit stop. But yeah, so if you have any further questions, Tintin, feel free to put them in the chat. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to remember where I was. Oh, I think we were starting with the modal. So we had already installed MUI, so we're good there. Now what I'm gonna do next is what is that? Whee! Cool. I'm just going to get the basic one then. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this and put it in my modal. How much was it giving me? Okay, so suggestions on how to either boost or make your coding experience easier is I have a couple of extensions within Visual Studio Code. Aside from this very pretty pink and purple skin, I also have so if you say Control Shift P, I have a extension that creates snippets for me. So if I say RFC, React Functional Component, and I press enter, it'll do that for me. Saves me a little bit of typing. Another suggestion that I would have if you also want to save typing, but it does like spoil you in a sense that you like, nah. We're gonna stick with this extension instead of going all the way to like GitHub Copilot or whatever AI generating code generation you want to use. So we're good there. So right now, let's remove this, or no, let's remove this and then let's say modal. So if you may have noticed, my extension allowed this line to be auto-completed. So it just knew that because I was creating a component called modal and the file exists, it'll create the import line. So I got that. So I got this modal now. What should happen if I open the browser is that navy screen with the moving atom should disappear, and the only thing I have is the word modal. So let's check it out. Total. So we're good there. Nice. Now what we're gonna do next is get that thing that we got and then say this. Oops, I don't want that. Yeah. Oh, okay. This way. Typography button. Okay, so what this means is I import and then box, typography, material, a button. That should be it. Identifier modal has already been declared. Because I'm trying to make a modal component using the thing that's okay. Pause. Brain fart. I don't think I need to make a separate thing for it anymore. So let's try. And I don't need this. But I do need to copy these from there. So there. We should be good. We should be good. Nope. So handle open not defined, handle close not defined. Let's look at the documentation. One way to figure out so I know that it's looking for examples for handle open. But yes, garsh. I was like trying to do it myself. But we can just do this instead. So friends, always check the full code. So we're gonna remove this. And oh, no, that was the whole thing. So I can just see. And that should give me watch this be TypeScript or not. What is that? I've never seen that before. That's the only part I couldn't understand, so I'm just gonna remove it. Line. Oh. Yep. So let's delete this. pretend I never did it. Cool. So we're good there. Nice. So let's reload this. Huh. I deleted it. So let's kill it and restart it. Hi Adam, how you doing? Awesome. So I'm gonna close that new pop-up that just opened and stick with this. And we got our modal good to go. Yeah, I assume it's like a different time. Like it's a different time because for me it's 4 p.m. But that's cool. Thanks for stopping by. I am gonna go ahead and so my methodology for creating this would be put everything where they're supposed to be first, then make it pretty. So I'm gonna leave the color and the style, etc., of the modal alone for now. Again, brain fart. So I did wanna keep. Actually, so my question right now then becomes, no, I don't want you to be called basic modal because I want the whole thing, because that's what we want. And then I don't think it broke anything. We're good there. What I think I need to do next is the timeline. So we got our button there, we got our modal there. Now it's time for our timeline. So I want this thing. So what? Customization, I think is. Yep. Because you need rest. Okay. So this is the part that we need. I'm going to copy this and put it in the timeline. And since it's a whole thing, right, I am going to create my own page for it. That's where this comes in. So let's see, timeline.jsx, and paste that thing in. And then if I put this here, excuse me, so we're good there. Now, icons material, I think is what it's complaining about. Or what I can do instead is MUI lab and MUI icons material. What I can do is open a new terminal. Oopsie daisies. Open a new terminal, say npm I at MUI / lab. And then the other one was, I goofed. Yeah, MUI lab is what I need. And then npm I MUI / icons material. Do that. Should take a second. Ooh, I saw that the weather is icy. That's interesting. I am also starting to freeze. So I used to go out a lot more, but now I personally prefer to melt than to freeze. I don't know about everyone else. It's a debacle of like layers versus what's going on here? Why is it taking a little longer? There we go. Cool. So let's check. Oopsie daisies. Export default was not found. Um. Oh, I understand. I completely understand what you're complaining about. No, I don't. I probably don't. But what I can do is put them all together in one line and then just say MUI lab. That might help fix it. So what I'm going to do is, and then timeline separator, do this, timeline connector, timeline content. That's why I wasn't able to find. I figured it out a little bit. The timeline in Material UI is new. That's why it's MUI Lab, not MUI like just a regular material. And that's why I was unable to locate it prior. There. So that should be a little cleaner. Let's look at the error messages. Okay. Turn it off and turn it on again is the solution that has been given to me. And I will go ahead and do that after I do these icons. But yeah, I think the icons stay as is. Let's check it out first. We'll close it and then open it again. VPN start. Hope for the best. And let's open our browser. Reload this. Awesome. So we have our modal and we have our timeline. And again, we are not styling until later because it's just it's just easier that way. Because my bad. I got lost in my own train of thought. But so we have the timeline, we have the there. We have the timeline, we have the modal. What else do we need? Nothing's beeping for me. We got the project thumbnail next. So that one we do have to make ourselves. So this is where we start styling and stuff. So we say thumbnail, or let's just call it project. It's always best to create or to naming conventions. It's always best to make sure that your names are as descriptive and succinct as possible. What are the repository tree files? Can you give us an overview summary of it? Yes, for sure. So when I said npx create React app, these were the default files, except for node modules. So every public source, you can't see that, public source, get ignore, package, readme. What is happening here is, so your readme is just a regular description. It gets built along with the rest of the project. You're good there. Add on plugins or yes, I did. So if we look at package.json, the ones with the greens are the ones that I added. Because you mentioned repository, Tintin, would it be helpful for you if I put this in a repo so that you and everyone else can look at it after or during? You can follow along. That, I don't know, maybe that will be helpful. But so let me know if that would help. But these are the ones that I added. So these are all material UI, and then this is just some auxiliary animation thing that I wanted to add. Package lock gets generated once you say npm install along with node modules. Git ignore just is for GitHub stuff. Public, leave it alone. Something that people sometimes do when creating React projects is thinking that because there's an HTML here, you can just go like edit it within this. I would strongly recommend against it. It works. Like you could like it will not destroy, like it won't break. It'll still run, but it goes against the um, advantages of React, which is the modularity, the yes. So GitHub link, you betcha. So let's open GitHub, sign in. Gorge. So I shall open my mail and get my code. Let's see. Nice. So we are good there. I shall resume. I'm gonna new repository and say MLH React portfolio. And then I'm gonna say public. I'm gonna say none create. And then what I'm gonna do is instead of putting them in here, I'm just gonna commit it. So let's start with these. I should have done. I'll show you best practices for the Git stuff after, but initial commit includes timeline and modal. So I'm gonna say that, and then I'm gonna publish my branch MLH React publish to. Yep. Oh shoot! I didn't call it demo earlier. I called it portfolio. I'm just confusing myself. I'm just kidding. I'll fix it later. But I think yes, we'll see. I now have those two, so I'll just stick with this. My bad. Let's see. That's new. I want to check that out later. Code spaces. We shall explore that at another time. Let's look at. Oh, what am I doing? No, I'll just and then put this here in the chat for everyone, and I'll leave it on the screen for anyone that wants to follow along. Why did it double? Huh, doesn't matter. So I'm gonna leave that there if you want to follow along. Cool. Oh, and because I did that, oh, I can do that. So GitHub. So because I did it within discussion. Wait. Oh, when you say plugins, do you mean extensions? Because I do have some helpful ones, not the C++ ones. Those give me trauma from school. So I have this. Let me create copy extension ID, I guess. Or no, there should be. Aha. That's what I need. If I put it in the chat, the thing that I'm thinking. Oh, the thing that I'm thinking about is like it'll be spammy. But bit of Copilot, I guess. And what else? What other? No, I don't. Let's not do Copilot because I. And then let's see if you wanna. It's a different. Oh, I think this is the one that I'm using right now. I will also suggest my skin. Cool. So there's also this. And prettier would be like. Is there anything else here? Oh, and icons. The icons help me. The icons do indeed help me. Ta-da! Gorgeous. So I'm going to include that as well because there. So you don't have to keep like saying at Emily, by the way. I got you. Let's see. I'm just gonna yep. So those are the things that I've been using. And for the APIs, you can see it within the repo, so you get there. Going back, let's see. So my repo is good. We're good there. Let's look at my website now. What's next? Where was I? Thumbnail. That's where I was. So let's go to components, and then I'm going to thumbnail, and then into my snippets and create a functional component, keep thumbnail, and then so the way that I'm going to do this is I am going to create div. So styles, and then this is going to be the container. That's an autocomplete. God, I have no idea what that image is. I don't want to mess anything up. So I'm going to have the container, and then that's going to be the whole thing. And then maybe what I'm going to do is have the cover as the background image. So I'm going to say const style. So what I'm doing right now is a way of styling called CSS in JS. What that means is instead of having a separate CSS file, which is so last season, I choose to create a object called styles, and then like I'll have an object within it for each of the styles. So container, let's say that's basic. So background color, no, background image. That's what I'm looking for. And then it should do the, yeah. So URL, there, props image. And then what I'm going to want to do is include in props image. There. Now what will happen is, actually, there. I just want the color. So, background size cover, background position center. No, it'll already. I hate when it does that. So we're gonna close it, and then it's gonna say return, and now it's gonna work. So, let's say H1 style. No, I don't want that. Styles. Title. Yeah, let's do that. And then I'm going to again use a prop. So I'm going to say title again, and then I'm going to add that here. So what should happen is actually, let's say, so in my design, I wanted there to be 2 in a row, right? So my thought process for this is going to be, it is going to be at most 50 viewport width. So at most 50 VW, but I'm going to need margins, and I'm going to need, I'm going to need margins. So I'm going to say, let's say 40, and then Um, it should. What about height? Maybe I'll leave it alone so that it automatically does that. So I see you, Tintin. I'm gonna get to your question because you are using characters. You are using acronyms that I do not yet know. I will, but I just want to make sure that this will show up before I get there, so I don't lose my train of thought. But I'm not ignoring you, I promise. So let's do that. Oh, and then padding. Oopsies. I say 20 packs. I'll just call it. This is arbitrary, and what I'm trying to do is just make it show up. So if you notice, I didn't like look at the website yet or anything, or I mean the I didn't see it rendered yet. Let's make this smaller because we don't need you. And in app, we are going to say thumbnail. Thumbnail. So do you see now? So here it is where it'll autocomplete. So it'll add the import and follow the um, structure. I don't know what word I'm looking for. So I'm going to say thumbnail. And then we had said our props are title and image. So I'm going to say title. Yeah. What's going on? What did I do? What did I do? Okay, so while my VS Code crashes, out of nowhere, what is the development architect? What's MVC? Let's find out. MVC. MVV. That's definitely not what you mean. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, 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 okay. These are things. And how is that different from this? Huh. Okay, so MVVM looks like a step further from. I would love to learn this actually. I don't think I know the differences, but what this is telling me is yeah, I have no good answer, but I would love to look into this and find out. Or I might actually already be using a methodology or a design pattern. I just didn't realize that that was that. Um, but yeah, so I'm sorry. Let's go to. Oh, right. I was trying to open my VS Code again because it crashed out of nowhere. Odd. Absolutely odd. What have you done? But there's no difference. Whatever. Okay. So we are at thumbnail, and we had said that the I'm gonna put this back up just in case anyone like pops in. But let's say we have title. Um, yeah, let's just call it that. And then let's say thumbnail again. And then let us have a what's the word? Unsplash URL for the source dot dang it unsplash API. Get a random photo. I don't need the whole API. There used to be a URL. I think it was like source.unsplash.com slash random. Nice. And then I did want a specific um, dimension, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. What is the, let's see, what is the dimensions of a desktop? Ten eighty, 1920, 1080, 1920. 1080, 1920. Probably the other way around. 1920 times 1080. Nice. Now let us do the same for the other one. And what's going to happen is they're going to have the same image. Let's check it out. Oh dear. That's because I closed it. Oops. So let's try that again. npm start. That was my goof. Let's try this again. Ah, it's complaining about something. But I see it. It's not saved. Why is my autosave wrong? Cool. So what's happening now is it works. So let's reload that so I can see my image. So I see it. However, the styling has forced it. So let's say height auto so that it'll keep the whole thing. Let's try that. Nope, not it. SVH. Maybe if I say max width, but it's not going to say that. It's going to say that, and then close this, and then try that. It's still. Oh, I understand now. So the reason why it's not giving me an exact a bigger height is because I said background image, which means the image does not dictate the size of the div. The text does. The children do. So this is going to dictate how big this thing is. But if I specify that the container has an exact height, like height 40 VH, it's gonna follow suit. Unless I specify that, it's not gonna get it. Now, what I need to do as well is make them go in a row. So what I can do about that is create a container called or div styles. Oh, div style, sorry. So what I'm doing, if you may not have noticed, is instead of saying, for example, div class name or div ID, I'm using my style to remind me what the div is for. So for example, I knew that it was for a title. I knew it was for a container instead of, for example, commenting it, right? Again, it's super duper helpful for yourself, these best practices. It's super duper helpful to make your variable names descriptive. That's what I'm looking for. So now we are at styles. No, projects. So that's what I'm gonna call it. So there's that. And then H1 projects, just the title. And then I'm gonna copy these there. Yeah. And then I'm going to make more. Oops. Whoa, what'd I do there? Okay, so so we have those. Styles is not yet defined, which means I need to go ahead and say const styles projects display flex. I want it to be in a row. I do want it to wrap. It knows me so well. Not what I want. Because I said max width. But if I just say width, it'll force it to be that thick and will wrap to the next line. Nice. That's exactly what I wanted though. So that project's title should not belong inside this container. It gets wrapped along with it. So I'm going to say outside. Now it's there. Now I'm going to add margins to my margin. Let's say 4 VW. Yikes. Let's say 2 VW. Much better. So we are good there. So that's, I want 4 VW, 2 VW, because I don't like that that's smaller. It was better the other way. So I'm going to stick with that. Maybe even say 1.2. Well, I don't like this gap. Space around or space between? What did I say? Yeah, it's space around. So I'm going to say justify content center, maybe. Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want. Now, next up. So we're good there. We styled our thing. Yeah. We're good so far. So next up, what I want to do is lower the, so make the project, the thumbnail darker. In order to do that, I might need to say, let's try this, background color RGBA. Yeah, not what I wanted. I want you capitalized. RGBA. Oh yeah. Okay. So the background color works. Background image opacity. Change, but see, the thing is, if you change opacity, it might change the whole text. So I think what I'm gonna do is give styles filter. So what I'm referring to, or yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna make a filter. Yeah. You know me so well. Um, okay. We got this. We're going. So it shouldn't be one tag. It should have a closing tag, a yeah, and then everything goes in there. So that's what it means. So let's do that, and then my container should no longer have padding because we need the filter to have the padding. Padding. Let's say 28px again, and add our comma. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Not at all what I want. No. So now that we've hit a snag, I'm gonna look at DevTools. So Control Shift C is gonna take me there, and I'm gonna remove that responsiveness, and I'm gonna hover over this thing that is, and let's look at this. So it does cover the whole thing, but that's not what we want. Padding. It's the padding that's bugging out. Okay, progress. But it still doesn't fit when you... Where did... So I should say margin instead? No, not it either. Okay, let's try again, friends. I think that's H1's padding. H1 always has. Something that I forgot that is super duper helpful. So CSS reset is something that I like to add whenever I get stuff like that. So I'm going to copy and paste this. What this does is just remove all of the defaults that come with like HTML and CSS because I did not want it to decide that I had that. Or you could just go ahead and I just stick with that. I'm going to remove font size and font inherit because the only thing I care about is the margin, padding, and border. So let's try again. But I did not include import CSS. There we go. Now it'll work. There it is. So now my cover covers the image. Maybe I want it a little lighter though. So 0.4. Better. And then I would want my title to be right here. I don't want it center. I want to keep it to the left, but I do want it at the bottom. So position absolute maybe. It's not ideal because we ideally do not want, you don't want to put absolutes anywhere unless you have to, because absolute is not responsive. It's per pixel. Oh, yeah, for sure. Thanks for letting me know. So is that a little better? If you want to zoom in more, let me know. But so I don't want to use absolute unless absolutely necessary because of the unresponsiveness of the pixels. So, but when you do use position absolute, make sure that the container that has that. So, for example, the thing that contains title is filter. So I'm going to tell filter position relative. What that does is it does nothing to filter, but it does tell title to only be absolute within this div. And now I'm going to say bottom 0 so that it goes to the bottom. Though I do maybe want to say okay. So let's try that. Where thumbnail.jsx line 28. Ah, that's what I'm looking for, maybe? Yikes. There. Cool. So we're good. So my styles have not changed. And I want to say left 20x2, maybe? Perfect. Wait, I already zoomed in though. Oh, you mean these? I have no idea how to zoom. Oh, would you look at that? Yeah, that should be good. If it's any fuzzier, I am so sorry. That's my internet. So I did not use a bootstrap template. What I used was display flex. So yes, CSS Flexbox. And I did that right there. So that's where I did it. Oops. I don't think it's a zoom, dude. Look. I don't think it's a zoom. But it's okay. So we are going to thumbnail. We're good there. I think. Oh, I do want it more than that far apart. Maybe 20 and 20. So another thing worth noting is I don't exactly understand why, but it is best practice or like common knowledge or like the standard industry standard to use multiples of 4 when doing pixels or when styling and stuff. So earlier I said 12, now I'm saying 20. Always an even number. At the very least, always an even number. If not, then multiples of 4. So I moved it a bit. We're good there. I don't like the font, so it's time to go font shopping. Let's go font shopping. What is that? That's pretty. Well, that's not. Oh. So one downside to that is if I, yikes. If I pick too fancy of a font, people who don't have it will have trouble seeing the website, which means what I'm going to do is stick with something I already know and use pop-ins. And what we're using is Google Fonts. That way we can just, so let's say regular, bold. Yeah. And is that what I did? Yes. And light. No, extra light. Medium, both. So I'm going here. Those are what I'm gonna need, and then maybe I'm going to use, just in case I need code, I'm gonna use what MLH uses, which is space mono, and get both. So now that I've done that, I didn't download the family. So some people tend to download their assets locally. But what that'll do is when you're ready to deploy it, all of those files will be deployed with it, making it clunky and bulky and take a little teensy tiny bit longer to load. Since we're trying to stick with best practices, we are going to do it this way. So if you click the icon over there, we shall get this. Why does it look like that? That's not what it's supposed to look like. Let's reload. And I guess that's what we're looking for is this. So not including style. So just at import and then the whole thing. We are going to copy that onto our app.css. Remember earlier we had added it to our app.js. So anything I do here will work. So now that I have that and I'm ready, I'll go to body and say font family Poppins. And then I think the backup would be sans serif. And what that'll do, the second font, is if Poppins doesn't work or if Poppins isn't available, it'll use that. What I want then is, okay, let's see. Let's check it out. Okay, so now my fonts are working. I don't like that the components aren't following it, which means I might have a little bit of trouble there, because remember what we had said earlier where components from UI libraries aren't as customizable. So the CSS that we're using isn't applying there right now. We'll work on it a little bit later if we get to it, because I have half an hour. Let's go to the question because I saw that it was repeated. Oh wait, there are multiple. Let's go back. Development norms and standards applied while coding the app. Okay, so the standards that I kind of just mentioned them as I went along. For example, the multiples of 4 pixels, the atomic design methodology, the CSS reset. So, like I said earlier, if you missed anything, the recording is going to be up on YouTube and Twitch and even Facebook right after the stream. So you can just follow along there. However, best practices. Yeah. I don't have like the best practices off the top of my head. Instead, what I have been doing is mentioning them as they come up. So if I know that another best practice that I mentioned earlier was not using position absolute, because we want our websites to be responsive. Instead, using viewport height and viewport width is the best practice that I think you're asking about. So I'm just like sprinkling those tidbits along as I go, as opposed to having like a list. So did you apply any progressive web app concepts or properties? By progressive web app, I think what you're referring to is for example, the responsiveness that I was mentioning. I had used the Flexbox stuff, the viewport stuff, and I don't know if that counts within PWA, but the CSS and JS stuff. But yeah, so I shall go back to, let's see. I'm gonna take a quick look at the schedule to see if I might be allowed to go past the 2 hours, just so we can deploy it, because I do want y'all to be able to have something start to finish, and I don't want to deploy something that isn't like, complete. So what we are going to do is, let's see. This is what I'm looking for, I think. Yes, awesome. So I end at 17 o'clock, and the next one is at 4 a.m. So I should most likely be good to keep going until we deploy the website. So going back to the thing at hand, so right now our thumbnail looks good. Maybe something I would want to incorporate is container filter title. So what I want is border radius. Let's see, what will that look like? So I need to make it a little bit more. So maybe let's say 24. And then I also need it within filter because remember it's a separate tag. Now that it looks like that, we're good. I really would have wanted it to be a gradient, but we can care about that a little bit later. Next up, what I'm going to do is make that thumbnail the new clickable thing instead of what we had here, which was just a button that said open modal. So I'm going to say handle open. Unfortunately, I am now going to get into the conundrum of how to make, like how to tell which modal to open. We're going to figure that out as we go along, friends. So on click is right there, which means I'll remove this. All we have now is the timeline and I'm going to move that. So customized timeline is going at the bottom and we're going to have projects all the way at the top. And we still haven't made our landing, so we're good there. So we have our thumbnail will click or not because maybe thumbnail doesn't have it on. Gosh. The button only said, so let's debug this. The button didn't say anything other than, yeah, see? It was just on click and then handle open. But why? Possibly because the modal is happening before. So maybe if I move this lower, let's try that, friends. Cool. Gosh, my modal isn't working. So let's try closing and opening. And in the meantime, while that loads, I'm going to answer the sandbox development technique. So one thing I'm going to note before answering that and Googling what that means is the fact that I do these things without knowing what they're called. So I might be using the development technique. I just didn't know that it was called sandbox. I just do things. So sandbox development technique. Oh, as in having a separate testing environment? I don't think so. Because this is just floating along. So I think the answer to this question is no. And my modal's not working. So let's try. One thing we can do is change this function to have a little bit more. So I'm going to change this, set open true. But before we say set open, we're going to console log something. And then if I click it, that should ideally add something to our console. So let's look at that. It's not being clicked nowhere at all. Oh, that was telling me that, no, we just opened it. So maybe that was a previous console message. So we're gonna open it up again and reload this. Yeah. Okay, we're good there. And if I click it, nothing, which means handle open isn't even triggered. One thing I can do. Why doesn't thumbnail do on click? Let's try doing this. Probably won't work. Let's try it anyway. Yeah, see, so we're not doing that. So handle open. Maybe I don't think so either. Might not be syntactical. Yeah, so what this is saying is it's re-rendering every time because even when I don't click it, handle open is happening. My next idea would be to wrap it around, wrap thumbnail around something that could be clicked on. But for now, we're going to leave it here. We're just going to say the whole div can be clicked. So, we're going to fix that. So let's see. There. It works. Not exactly the functionality that we're looking for. I did not know that there were angry drivers outside, but if you do hear my background noise, I sincerely apologize. I have a very rowdy neighborhood. If you see the previous streams, I've let's see. Where was I? So I'm leaving the modal alone. And what I'm gonna do next is the timeline. I'm gonna say is going to. Oh, this is yep. Okay, cool. So the modal is there, and the timeline that I'm looking for is right here. Because we have successfully completed the styling of the thumbnail, I can go ahead and add and commit those changes and say thumbnail. So another best practice thing that I don't there's two schools of thought about it where you can say added or add, whether that's when you are creating meaningful commit messages. It doesn't there's no set one, as long as you do have those descriptive commit messages. So I added my thumbnail and styled what else? Yeah, let's just call it that. So commit and sync so that we will pull first before pushing. So this is very important when you are collaborating on GitHub. Before you push any changes, you make sure that you pull first. That way, the changes that everyone else had will be added to the commit that you are sending over. This saves a lot of time when you're doing merge conflicts or when you're resolving merge conflicts. And the easy way to do it is just saying sync instead of just push. So we're good there. I think I'm going to call it and look for Firebase. So what I'm going to do is just show you what the process is going to be when you're deploying it. And then we'll redeploy it once we're all the way done, just in case someone says I can't continue past the 2 hours, since we do have 19 minutes. What I'm going to do now, so Firebase allows for usually static websites, and usually people think, oh, because React is React might not count, but what we're going to do is build it and then deploy it. So let's see let's say hackathons. I think these are my things. So, or is it this one? Let's find out. It might be this one. Yeah, might be this one. So let us create a new app. So what we're looking for is web. And this is the screen that you're going to see. The ones that I showed beforehand, it might not look the same when you're doing it because I've made a bunch of apps before and I'm just adding to a project. But what you will need to do beforehand is create a project. It usually connects, or it does connect to Google Cloud. So Google Cloud credits go to your Firebase. Your projects within Google Cloud go to Firebase. So what I'm going to do now is MLH React portfolio. And I'm going to say set up Firebase hosting. That's super duper important because that's the only thing that we need. So I'm going to say create a new site, and this is where you can say what your URL is going to be. Of course, you're limited because it's free, but I can at least say MLH React E2 because this is the second time I'm hosting this. I'm going to say that. So this is going to be the link that we're going to open later. So now this is where we're going to, so if you are using regular HTML, CSS, you would use this, but we can say npm install Firebase. So I've gone ahead and done that. And then this goes into your app.js. So we're going to go ahead and go to app.js, go all the way to the top, or not all the way to the top, in between those. So imports always have to go first. It's going to complain either through Prettier or through the built-in BS like errors that the imports should stay above. And then we have our Firebase config here. This is an API key, which means it's not supposed to be either shown to you on this screen or on the repo that I'm about to push. However, in the grander scheme of things, I don't think we'll be fine. So I'm actually, do we want to do a .env? That might be, we could do that, yeah. So, oh, no, because then what would happen is we need that .env with the, like when we build it. So I'm just going to leave it alone for now. We'll get there. I don't think there's any harm with this particular project since it's just the workshops and demos that I've had. And then we can ignore analytics since we're not, you could keep it. One thing to note is Firebase allows you to, let's go back, Firebase console, it allows you to have analytics as well for your website. So for example, once you start recruiting, you could find out whether or not your website is actually getting traffic. I keep going to the wrong place. Let's say for this website, I can see how many folks have gone, how many users, how many times it's been downloaded, etc. But those are functionalities that we can explore at another time. But that's what analytics is. The only thing that you super duper need for this one, so that's why it's grayed out, is this line. Now that that's been initialized, I think what's next would be the CLI. So we're going to say npm install -g Firebase tools. Something that I want to note for people who are, oopsies, I didn't know I could. Something, in case you come across, an error when you do this line, the -g often creates an obstacle for people. So if you have something that says permission errors or something along those lines, when it comes to something that has -g, it's because it's doing a global install. So it's not just at the folder that your project is in. Like usually when we say npm install, it only goes into the node modules of that particular folder. However, when we do -g, it goes everywhere on your computer, where any project can access it. Sometimes that isn't allowed by administrator permissions. So the Mac and Linux way of solving that issue, if and when you do come across it, is to add sudo right before the command. So sudo npm install blah. sudo is the magic word. And if you are using Windows and you're using PowerShell, what that would look like is PowerShell. You right click it and then you say run as administrator. So that is what will fix any error with global installs, just in case that's something that you encounter. And then I'm going to say next. Now, Firebase login should already be done, but I'm going to do Firebase init. So I'm going to open a new terminal, say Firebase init, and it'll give me a prompt. It's super intuitive and visual. So I'm just going to say why, and it's asking what I want to set up. Now, what I'm going to do is just click hosting. So I'm going to space just hosting, not the one with the GitHub actions. You could use that, but for like the bare minimum, you can just choose the first one that says optionally. And we can go over any of the other functionalities at another time. I think I could totally do a Google Cloud / Firebase stream next time. So we're good there. And then I'm going to say use an existing project. Unless you don't have one yet, you can totally do that here. But following the flow, we're going to say use an existing project. And I had said Isabel. That's the one that I had earlier, or that's the one that's right there. So I'm going to stick with that. And then this is the important part. We are not going to say that the public folder is what we will use when we deploy. We are going to say build. And I know we don't have a build folder yet right now, but we are going to create it right after. Don't worry. So we're going to say build. It's going to create an empty build folder. Oh, wait, not yet. We say no here. We do not want it to rewrite our URLs. And then we do not want to set up automatic builds. And now we have a build folder. But what we are trying to do here is npm run build. So if you haven't seen this command before, we actually see it in our package.json under scripts. So build is right here. And what that does is compile everything. So we'll see. So I'm going to say npm run build. And we're creating a production up. What was that? Can't resolve. Oh, what that means is I just need to say npm install. So we'll go ahead and do that. Or it's not here, so I think I just have to say npm install Firebase. That should be enough. And it'll install everything within Firebase. So you'll have to do it again later for any other function of Firebase that we will need. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we can say run build. Whee. Nice. Okay, so the build folder is ready to be deployed. If you want to serve it, you can do this. But what I can do now is wait. Continue. Okay, so this is what we'll need now. Firebase deploy. If you have multiple projects, make sure to copy this down in your own, like in your local notes or something, because Firebase deploy without only hosting will deploy everything. So when you have multiple files, multiple projects already, this is what you'll need to add: only hosting, MLH, React, v2. But otherwise, Firebase deploy by itself will suffice. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Oops, what's wrong with you? Hosting site or target not detected in Firebase JSON. Oh, that's what I'm missing. I keep skipping steps, friends. That's on me. I'm so sorry. So that's what I needed, which is telling me what the site is. Now let's try that again. Firebase deploy. Whee! Nice. Okay, progress. And now we have deploy complete. Now let's wait for a few seconds. But what this means now is our hosting URL, when we say control click and open it, we now have this website. So if you on your own time also say MLH-React-v2 web app, it'll work. Of course, this is not like the whole website that we had initially planned, but my speed run was not as speed runny as I had planned it to be. Okay, cool. Cinnamons, nice. So with that in mind, we've deployed our website. Does anyone have any questions? And like whatever time we have left is open for questions or anything else that we want to demonstrate with our website. So, okay. So anything that we want to add to it, any questions on how certain things were done? Yeah. Oh, maybe I can try out the typewriter. I never got to try out the typewriter. No, that's the window timeline. We don't need you. React model, we don't need you. Typewriter, there we go. So I could say this. What I'm doing now is just like residual stuff, but we've technically like finished all of the steps, bare minimum, least speaking. So we have that, and then where is it? Yeah, there we go. So what I would want then is right here. Oh, I can just auto loop. I like that. So let's go to app.js and get this. And go here. Oops. And so hello is over there, and then world is over there. I should probably make that a little bit. Let's look at the typewriter documentation and see how we can increase our font size to make it a little bit bigger. Dang. Is there no way for me to do that? Or I'm just going to try the examples to see if anyone oh well. So at least I was able to try out the library that we wanted to try. So we're good there. And yeah. I'm going to leave the last 4 minutes. We have accomplished everything we initially set out to do. We can keep going with the project and like add different stuff, create styles, etc. But we have also deployed it to our We have also deployed it to our Firebase console. And yeah, so I hope that was helpful to y'all. I will have the resources available, including the link to the repository, the links that was shared in the chat, all in the resources page that I have for all of my own personal Global Hack Week workshops. So be on the lookout for that. I'll make sure that everyone has that. If you're in the Discord server, you should be good. But yeah, so thank you so much for staying tuned. I hope this was helpful. And have fun, friends. Happy hacking. Bye. Ooh, where's my little overlay? Bye.